A boy walks alone through the quiet school corridor, his thoughts wandering into the tangled maze of love and what it truly means. To him, love has always seemed like a peculiar game, one defined by victories and defeats. When feelings are reciprocated, it feels like winning. When they are rejected, it feels like losing. He has long accepted these simple rules as the truth. Yet, as his mind drifts, he realizes how little he actually understands. Love to him remains an enigma, full of contradictions, riddles, and meanings that escape him entirely. Lost in these thoughts, he walks down the hallway unaware of his surroundings until a gentle voice calls out. A girl passes by, offering a polite morning greeting, briefly pulling him out of his quiet contemplation. Later, they sit together at a small table, a board game spread out between them. Shiramori Kasumi holds one of the pieces delicately, studying it in a quiet, far-off way, commenting that the game lets her slip into another life entirely. Our MC, Kuroya Tsukichi, finds the whole thing a bit cliché. Curious anyway, he asks her to explain. Shiramori hesitates, then admits she's drawn to the way the game divides the world into black and white, an idea that doesn't really make sense to him. Shiramori suddenly expresses her gratitude that he joined the club. She admits that without him, she would probably have spent the afternoon alone, quietly reading since playing like this wouldn't be possible by herself. Kuroya reflects on the state of the literature club. At the moment, there are only two members, Shiramori-senpai and himself. He assumes that the board game and the books scattered around must have been left behind by former members. As she looks through the bookshelf, he asks whether playing games is actually the purpose of the club, adding that it isn't a proper club in the usual sense. Hearing this, she abruptly tells him to stop, insisting that logic has no place at the moment. She lifts a book to show him something, but when he starts to speak, she gently covers his mouth, asking him not to spoil the moment. She wants to say something nice, it's not cute of him. She then asks how he's adjusting to his classes, noting it's already May and wondering if he feels like he's fitting in. He admits he's an introvert and rambles about how he never said he wanted to be an extrovert. Senpai comments that his quiet monologue suits him. He decides to drop the subject and she apologizes, but she notices him pouting. She can't help reminding him he still has a lot to learn. Annoyed, he protests and asks her to stop teasing him. Kuroya watches Shiramori-senpai, one of the most admired girls in the school, known for her kindness and bright personality. He realizes they belong to completely different worlds, yet somehow, for a year now, they have shared this quiet room, just the two of them. As she focuses on the game, he continues observing her, immersed in thought, until she suddenly turns toward him. He notices how close she is and the intensity of her gaze. Glancing at the board, he realizes that they're playing Othello. She steps nearer, standing directly in front of him, and their eyes meet. For a moment, he's struck by the contrast between her gentle reputation and the quiet strength she radiates now. Meanwhile, two boys walking down the corridor talk about Mother Teresa, Shiramori's nickname. They admire her looks and cheerful smile. Kuroya knows that the four most admired girls in the school each have a nickname. Shiramori particularly dislikes hers. He wonders what kind of person would come up with such strange titles for high school girls. Still, he understands why she stands out. Her warmth and gentle nature draw people in almost effortlessly. Watching her now, he feels the same pull himself. As the game continues, he notices her confident posture. Embarrassed, he turns his face away, insisting that resistance is pointless. His victory is inevitable. When she finally concedes with a frustrated sigh, he quietly celebrates. Kuroya reminds her that he has always been the one to win their games, even in the past. Irritated, she admits he has become quite skilled. He replies that after practicing for a year, improvement is only natural. He adds that hard work shouldn't be considered unfair. She laughs and says that, in that case, she'll simply have to try harder to maintain her position as the head of the literature club. Kuroya questions whether winning at a board game has anything to do with influence in the club. She dismisses the idea, telling him not to worry about such trivial things. With only the two of them in the club, the title hardly matters. She nods, noting that no new members have joined this year. He asks what that means for them. She responds excitedly that it seems they'll spend the year together again. Kuroya admits to himself that he doesn't mind. It's perfectly fine with him. When she asks if he really feels that way, he explains that he simply doesn't want to deal with new members. He quickly clears the board to avoid giving her the wrong impression. She calls him stubborn. When he asks her what she said, she leans close behind him and murmurs that if he manages to win, she might offer him a reward. Standing so near, she tells him he may ask for anything he wants. Her words linger in his mind, and for a split second, An unexpected thought crosses him before he quickly shakes it away. Trying to regain his composure, he responds awkwardly, but she asks what he thinks of her offer. He admits he has nothing in mind, flustered. Frustrated, she mutters for him to forget it, yet she suddenly asks if he actually likes her. He freezes, unable to answer. She presses again, asking if he likes her or if she's mistaken. His mind goes blank as his memories rewind to the first time they met in this room. He realizes he has loved her from that moment, though he never found the courage to confess. Her direct question has brought those hidden feelings to the surface. When she asks once more, he remains silent, and she takes his hesitation as confirmation, saying she knew it all along. Startled, he tries to deny it, but his flushed face betrays him. She points out the redness in his cheeks, leaving him at a loss for words. Embarrassed, he begs her to stop. She reassures him that she won't tease him anymore and won't tell anyone. He stands frozen, his mind empty, knowing the truth has been exposed. She knows everything now. Then she asks again if he truly likes her. Nervously, he admits that he does. For a moment, he considers leaving, afraid of what she might say next. Perhaps that he should never return to this room. Instead, she proposes that they try going out together. His mind freezes, unable to register her words. When she repeats the suggestion, he echoes it back. Stunned, she nods, telling him not to take it too seriously just to see how it goes. Confused, he struggles to grasp what has happened. He wonders if this is some kind of trial, questioning her intentions. The idea of actually dating her feels unreal. Seeing his hesitation, she gives him 10 seconds to decide. Shocked, he repeats her words and she confirms them with playful confidence, warning that silence will be counted as a refusal. Panicking, he blurts out that even if it's just a trial, he wants to go out with her. She accepts his answer with a gentle smile and declares that he is now under her care. And so, Kuroya begins a relationship with the Shiramori senpai he has always loved. He wonders if he deserves such a blessing and can hardly believe she was the one who suggested it first. Shiramori is beautiful and kind, someone he thought was far beyond his reach, yet now she is with him. For a fleeting moment, it feels like he has won the game. Excitement fills him, pushing aside any doubt. But as time passes, he realizes he has taken this so-called game of love far too lightly. Despite how it looks, he does not feel victorious. He recalls her words about testing the waters, and the truth settles heavily in his chest. If he is honest with himself, his relationship with Shiramori Kasumi did not begin with triumph, but with an undeniable, quiet loss. The next day, Kuroya goes through his morning with yesterday's thoughts still replaying in his mind. The memory of Shiramori questioning his feelings, the way that single moment shook him, and how everything afterward shifted so quickly it still feels unreal, even if it is only under a temporary arrangement. The decision he made seems distant and dreamlike, yet he cannot deny that it was something he genuinely wanted. He had barely been able to sleep. By lunchtime, a strange combination of nerves and anticipation runs through him. Walking toward the cafeteria, he feels the weight of his sleepless night pressing down on him. Yet another part refuses to settle. Even a brief accidental meeting of eyes with Shiramori sends a sharp jolt through his chest, quickening his heartbeat in a way he cannot control. As Kuroya eats lunch with his friend, Tokiya Shimokura watches him with amused surprise. He reminds Tsukiji how he used to hate anything related to dating or normal social behavior. The comment irritates Kuroya, who snaps back, refusing to believe he's become a normie overnight. Still baffled that Shiramori-senpai is involved, Tokiya presses on. The idea that Kuroya's girlfriend is such a well-known senior seems unreal. He adds that it's shocking Kuroya is in a relationship at all. Especially this strange, he stays quiet, unable to deny it, even if he refuses to say so out loud. Tokiya is one of the few people Kuroya considers a real friend. With striking looks and an effortless charm, his confidence sets him apart. He skips classes often and drifts between groups without belonging to any. Most of the time he hangs around university students or working adults, though Kuroya has never learned why. Tokiya comments again on how surprising it is that Kuroya is now with the senior he admired so intensely. He treats it like an achievement, though the words only irritate Kuroya further. Curious, Tokiya presses him, asking how he even managed to confess in the first place. Kuroya knows the truth is nothing like that. He hadn't made the first move. When Tokiya learns that it had been Shiramori who initiated the moment, his surprise is obvious. His excitement rises instantly, but when Kuroya explains the entire situation, that excitement shifts. Tokiya becomes irritated instead, scolding him for not mentioning something so important earlier. Still, he pauses when he hears that the relationship is only temporary. Kuroya notices the shift in Tokiya's tone and grows defensive, unsure if he's being mocked. Tokiya waves it off, telling him to think realistically. Shiramori must feel something for him. No one spends time with someone they don't care about, even in a temporary arrangement. Kuroya listens, uncertain, and quietly asks if that could really be true. Tokiya answers without hesitation, leaving our lad to think it over. Then Tokiya starts teasing again, urging him to have a little confidence. Leaning in with a mischievous grin, he hints at parts of Kuroya's past. Proof, he says, that Kuroya isn't just some ordinary guy. Kuroya immediately shuts it down, insisting those things don't matter anymore. Realizing he's crossed a line, Tokiya backs off and apologizes. Before they can continue, a sudden noise rises from nearby tables. Students react with surprise, whispering about someone who has just entered. Their attention shifts instantly to a Shiramori-san whose presence draws eyes wherever she goes. Kuroya freezes, stunned and unsure why she is there. Tokiya glances at her and comments that her arrival is probably related to Kuroya, urging him to go to her. He refuses to believe it, wrestling with the idea that she might actually be there because of him. He tries to reason with himself, caught between disbelief and a possibility he cannot bring himself to accept. Shiramori looks in his direction and offers a polite wave. Tokiya responds loudly on his behalf, startling him. Embarrassed, Kuroya instinctively lowers himself beneath the table. Attempting to hide, Tokiya scolds him for acting like this, and questions why he is running away, leaning over to look down at him. Tokiya points out that his lack of response has already made things awkward. A thought nags at him. Maybe he should have just turned toward her and returned the gesture. But uncertainty creeps in. What if her wave wasn't meant for him at all? That doubt keeps him frozen under the table. Shiramori approaches their spot with calm composure. Her polite greeting catches Kuroya completely off guard. Still crouched below, he stares up at her in shock, unable to move as she asks whether she may sit with them. The simple question leaves him unable to respond, his mind turned completely blank. He finally gathers himself enough to answer, trying to explain that he is already sitting with his friend, though the words come out uneven. Before he can finish, Tokiya steps in smoothly, assuring her that he has no issue with her joining them. Kuroya mutters in frustration, overwhelmed by the fact that Shiramori-senpai is now sitting directly across from him. She glances at the bowl in front of him. The sight reminds her that she's hungry, and she asks if she can try some. The request leaves Kuroya stunned. He repeats the thought internally, unable to believe he heard it correctly. The idea that she wants to eat from something he has already tasted leaves him frozen, his mind instantly jumping to the implications. Should he ask for separate utensils? Is that the proper response? She calls his name again, noticing his hesitation and asking if something is bothering him. He denies it, and she urges him to hurry. As he finally gathers himself and begins to offer her a portion, someone suddenly appears behind her. A friend of hers throws her arms around her from behind, greeting her with cheerful enthusiasm and hugging her tightly. Shiramori tenses in surprise. Kuroya glimpses the scene and immediately lowers his face under the table again, overwhelmed by the sudden disruption. The cafeteria fills with noise as students react to the appearance of both girls. Many recognize them instantly, commenting on how unusual it is to see them here together. Attention especially shifts to An Ukyu, whose presence draws excited reactions from surrounding tables. Tokiya leans toward Kuroya, noting that he was interrupted. Shiramori's friend continues holding her close as she explains why she arrived late, speaking with carefree energy. Kuroya watches the scene, surprised to see Shiramori-san unsettled in a way he rarely sees. She is usually the one who keeps him off balance, yet now the situation feels reversed. As the two girls prepare to leave the table, Kuroya catches himself staring at Shiramori again. He forces his gaze away by mentally repeating numbers, trying to steady himself. Ahead of him, Shiramori and Anne discuss what they plan to eat, her friend responding with her usual bright enthusiasm. When Shiramori turns back, her gaze settles directly on Kuroya. He stiffens, wondering why she is looking at him with such focus, unsure what she might be thinking. Tokiya notices and reacts with entertained surprise, clearly enjoying the unfolding situation. Kuroya, however, feels the tension more heavily. He knows he lacks the confidence to act openly and wonders about the quiet hesitation hanging between them. Despite the opportunity for a more intimate moment during lunch, he doesn't step forward. Tokiya continues teasing him, pointing out that Shiramori might be left in an awkward position because of his inaction. Kuroya questions himself, unsure whether he has done something wrong or failed in some way. His thoughts are interrupted when his phone vibrates with a notification. He glances at the screen and sees a message from Shiramori asking to talk. The tone of the text feels unusually cold, leaving him startled. Tokia notices the reaction and keeps teasing him, while Kuroya faces a wave of uncertainty. He imagines the worst, that their temporary relationship might already be in danger. Kuroya's thoughts revolve around what Shiramori told him earlier, that she wanted to speak with him after classes. He keeps recalling the way she said she would be waiting, and the sound of her voice lingers in his mind, echoing more strongly the closer he gets. He convinces himself that Shiramori-senpai must still be upset as he failed to return her wave. Kuroya worries that her mood has not improved, and imagines the worst outcome, even thinking she might consider ending their relationship. These uneasy thoughts keep circling in his head as he walks toward the clubroom. When he finally reaches the room and opens the door, she notices him immediately. She looks surprised that he actually came, and that single reaction deepens his confusion. The air around her feels tense, confirming to him that she has not let go of her irritation from earlier. She tells him she had been worried he would not come because he ignored her before, assuming his actions meant he strongly disliked her. Hearing this makes him grow nervous, and he rushes to explain himself. He wants her to understand that he never intended to avoid her. The moment he realized she was his girlfriend, he felt so overwhelmed with happiness that he became too shy to face her directly. That shyness, not dislike, had made him look away. He tries to make it absolutely clear that he does not dislike her in any way, and never meant to give her that impression. But as soon as he says it, he tells himself she will probably find his explanation unsettling. He realizes how strange his own thoughts sound and tries to silence them before they spiral further. She listens carefully, taking in everything he says. Then she moves closer, expressing her appreciation for his honesty. She asks if he really believes she was upset with him. Noticing how much he had been thinking about her, Kuroya reacts with flustered confusion, and she answers with a smile, leaving him unsure whether she's teasing or sincere. With a gentle motion, she encourages him to sit. When he sits across from her, he keeps thinking about how unpredictable she is, yet he also feels relieved that her mood seems to have lifted. But suddenly, he notices her looking at him with dissatisfaction. His nervousness returns, and he tries to figure out what he has done wrong this time. She becomes irritated because he chose a seat at an angle instead of directly in front of her. He panics, apologizes, adjusts his position, and asks if it is acceptable now. She settles down and becomes calmer, then invites him to start the game with her. Without warning, she asks if being in a relationship with her embarrasses him. Kuroya is caught completely off guard. She clarifies that she is merely wondering, nothing more. In his mind, he argues that if embarrassment is involved, it should affect her more than him, considering he does not see himself as someone she would normally choose. After thinking that over, he asks her why she decided to be with him in the first place. She reacts with shy surprise, finding his question unusual and unexpected. Seeing her expression makes Kuroya frustrated with himself, since she is clearly amused, and he worries she will answer in a way that makes him feel even weaker. But despite that fear, he insists he wants to know the reason. In the back of his mind, he wonders if she might feel the same way he does, and questions whether he is assuming too much. Suddenly, Senpai stands up, and Kuroya wonders nervously what she intends to do. Instead of giving him the answer he asked for, she decides not to reveal it. When he questions her, she simply says that telling him outright would make things uninteresting. She sets a condition instead. She will share her feelings only if he manages to win the game they are about to play. Kuroya's confidence rises immediately. He reminds himself that he has already won several times before and believes he can do it again. Without hesitation, he accepts the challenge and prepares himself. They begin the match, but despite his determination, she ends up winning. Kuroya becomes frustrated, blaming his own tension for making him unable to play properly. Shiramori then tells him that, as the loser, he must face a consequence. He is startled because she never mentioned any punishment beforehand. She calmly admits she did not tell him earlier, then declares that his task is to confess his feelings to her 10 times. He is taken aback, but she urges him to begin. He feels overwhelmed with embarrassment, yet he also believes that expressing his feelings like this might allow him to convey what he truly thinks of her. Gathering his resolve, he prepares himself and manages to say the first statement, though he cannot look directly at her. She immediately rejects it and insists that he must look her straight in the eyes. In his mind, he panics, telling himself he cannot handle such a demand, and even considers refusing. Still, he forces himself to try again, but she interrupts and refuses it once more. She tells him it must be spoken with genuine feeling, otherwise she will not accept it. Kuroya repeats the required phrase 10 times. The entire time he keeps wondering why he is the only one speaking, feeling increasingly frustrated as he watches her remain calm and composed. He maintains direct eye contact with her for every repetition, and she does the same, which only intensifies his embarrassment. After finishing all 10, he informs her that he has completed the task. She becomes flustered and admits she is surprised he managed to carry out something so awkward. He reacts in disbelief, reminding her that she was the one who imposed the challenge in the first place. She lightly acknowledges that it is true. As he prepares to leave, he says he is heading home. She replies that she is doing the same. Then she approaches him from behind, moves close, and quietly expresses her love to him in return. Kuroya becomes stunned, completely unable to process what he hears. She notices his reaction, points out how red his face has become, and tells him she will leave first. She says they will continue their conversation on the way home and waits for him outside until he is ready. After she steps out, he is left alone with his racing thoughts. He keeps wondering what she intends to do next and tries to understand what just happened. His mind spirals as he attempts to grasp everything, overwhelmed by the intensity of her confession. The simple honesty in her words sends his heartbeat into a frantic rush. He repeats the moment in his mind, realizing how even something straightforward can shake him so deeply. He admits to himself that she always affects him this way, leaving him unsteady each time. Even while he criticizes how easily she makes him lose his balance, he knows exactly why it happens, but he cannot bring himself to voice that desire openly. He lets out a breath and tells himself that it must be because she feels strongly for him too. He quickly denies the thought, insisting he cares for her even more, and laughs quietly at his own confusion. While he talks to himself, unaware, she listens from outside the room and hears every word. Kuroya walks home with Shiramori-senpai for the first time since they started dating. As he steps out of the classroom, she immediately comments on how long he took. The moment feels ordinary, yet he senses an unfamiliar tension. Walking together should be normal, but his nerves are sharper than expected. Side by side, they draw the attention of nearby classmates. Whispers rise around them, speculating about the senior-junior pair and what their relationship might be. Kuroya catches fragments and grows uneasy, wondering if he'll ever get used to being watched like this. Amid the murmurs, Shiramori casually mentions his habit of returning books quickly whenever she lends them, saying it reminds her of something. Kuroya answers simply, trying to stay composed despite the tightness in his chest. He quickly adds that it isn't what she thinks. His behavior isn't about her, he insists. He just believes in returning borrowed books promptly. Shiramori accepts this with a brief response, and Kuroya immediately worries he may have said something that upset her. As she begins to walk ahead, Kuroya calls out to her and confesses that his earlier explanation was not entirely true. He admits that he had hoped to catch her attention by returning the books quickly, though he struggles to find the right words to continue. Shiramori turns back, pleased by his honesty, and remarks that she had suspected as much all along. She realizes that Kuroya has strong feelings for her. He reacts with slight panic, feeling cornered by the way she frames it, knowing he has been caught in a subtle trick. Kuroya remarks that what she did would count as a trick. Realizing his earlier worry was unnecessary, he says he'll head off. But Shiramori tugs lightly at his shirt, frustration showing. She hasn't forgotten that he was the one who lied to her first. As they continue walking, she comments that their conversation feels familiar, as if they've been through something like this before. Kuroya tries to remember but can't place it. Shiramori, however, recalls the moment clearly, every detail still vivid in her mind. About a year ago, Kasumi Shiramori, a second-year student, is asked by a boy if she has any plans after school. Shiramori's friends respond first, saying they do not, and then the boy turns to Kasumi to ask her. She replies that she plans to go straight home to read a book she bought the day before. The boy interrupts her plan, insisting they go to karaoke and that she can read later, suggesting a place with a student discount. Reflecting on the exchange, Shiramori realizes that for them, reading is just a pastime, while spending time with friends matters more. For her, however, books hold real meaning and aren't so easily set aside. Remembering her role as the reliable one-san, she decides to go along with the group. When her friends ask if she'll join, she agrees. As she is about to leave, Kuroya tells her their advisor, Mr. Yokomizo, has called for him, and she needs to go too. Shiramori acknowledges this and thanks the boy for letting her know. Turning to her friends, she explains that she has something she needs to take care of and says they will hang out another time. Her friends accept this without complaint. After everyone else leaves, Shiramori apologizes to Kuroya for keeping him waiting. Kuroya admits that he'd lied and that no one had actually called for her. Shiramori reacts with surprise, pointing out that he does not seem like the type to lie without a reason. Kuroya decides it is better not to explain everything immediately. But as she insists, he reveals that he overheard her conversation earlier and suspected she might not have genuinely wanted to go to karaoke with the others. Shiramori is taken aback, wondering whether her behavior had been different from usual, but Kuroya reassures her that she seemed to be enjoying herself as she always does. He explains that he was concerned about people assuming she was free, though she said she wanted to read. He had been thinking about how frustrating it must be when others involve someone in their plans without considering their actual wish. Kuroya adds that if she truly wanted to go, she could still catch up with them later. Shiramori was honestly surprised by his thoughts, but admits she was glad because she had not really wanted to go to karaoke. Kuroya feels relieved hearing this, and Shiramori reflects that she had not expected him to be the type to say something like that. He returns her book, mentioning his principle of always returning books as soon as possible. She smiles, remembering that he's still the same. Kuroya notices and asks why she's laughing, but she brushes it off, leaving him puzzled. Shiramori reflects on whether Kuroya realizes why she said yes to his confession, and how happy it made her. She feels grateful for him rescuing her from a situation she had given up on, and silently wonders if he has any idea. Her face flushes with excitement, and she smiles, but quickly composes herself, unwilling to let him see. Stepping out of her thoughts, she tells Kuroya, "Let's head home." The next day, as Kuroya walks toward his classroom, his thoughts remain fixed on what Shiramori told him yesterday. Her words continue to echo in his mind. He clearly remembers the moment when Senpai agreed to be with him, temporarily. Even now, the reason behind her decision feels impossible to grasp. The idea that someone else might suit her better weighs heavily on him, and the belief that he isn't the right match refuses to leave. Lost in those thoughts, he almost bumps into Tokaya. They exchange greetings, and Kuroya immediately notices the creases on his friend's uniform, pointing out that it's already past noon. Tokaya looks genuinely surprised. Curious, Kuroya asks if he stayed at a woman's place again, and Tokaya admits he had been at Megumi's home and overslept because she didn't wake him. Kuroya comments that he seems to be enjoying life and quietly wishes he had the same confidence in romance. But Tokiya's earlier mention of today lingers in his mind. Leaving him confused, Tokiya then reminds him with a puzzled look that he now has his own experiences to think about, especially since he has his beautiful first girlfriend embarrassed. Kuroya tells him to stop, but Tokiya presses on, asking how far things have progressed with Shiramori. Kuroya explains that nothing much has happened yet since they only started dating 3 days ago. Tokaya reacts with exaggerated disappointment, calling it dull irritation rises in Kuroya as he insists he is trying. Tokiya advises him to step up and stop avoiding taking the lead, reminding him how much he hates anything uninteresting. Silently, Kuroya admits he has always avoided dull things and feels apologetic for being that way. Still reflecting on Tokiya's words, he is suddenly startled when Shiramori approaches from behind. She greets both of them and asks whether they were discussing her. Kuroya quickly tries to deny it, but Tokaya steps in and directly asks if they are truly in a relationship. She confirms it without hesitation and replies that they are indeed together. Tokiya asks her to be gentle with Kuroya, mentioning that he has no resistance when it comes to girls. He expresses his happiness for them and, on behalf of Kuroya's friends, offers his congratulations. She thanks him politely. Tokiya then leans in slightly and quietly adds that his support applies only if she genuinely means it. When she looks puzzled, he quickly claims he is joking and that he was just teasing. He asks her not to trouble Kuroya too much, explaining how important Kuroya is to him. After mentioning that he needs to go to the staff room, he says goodbye and leaves. Once Tokiya is gone, Kuroya wonders why he acted that way. Shiramori comments that Tokiya is a kind person, though Kuroya questions that, unsure even of his own conclusion. She explains that Tokiya understands people well, and that his earlier remark, despite being phrased lightly, likely carried genuine concern for Kuroya. She thanks him again and tells him that he has a loyal friend. Hearing her speak so favorably about Tokiya unsettles him, and he cannot help noticing how naturally she praises him. She continues, mentioning how well-liked Tokiya is, and how he is known even among students in the year above them. Several girls from her class have even approached him to request his contact information. Kuroya tells her that Tokiya has always been popular with girls since their earlier school years. She replies that it is understandable considering how appealing Tokiya is. The sudden shift in conversation makes Kuroya question why the topic turned toward his friend. A quiet worry stirs inside him, and he wonders whether someone like Tokeya might also be her type. Her repeated mention of Tokeya irritates him, and the frustration escapes into his voice before he can stop it. He immediately tries to correct his tone, but she notices and smiles, pointing out the jealousy directed toward his closest friend. He denies it and struggles to explain himself, but she gently tells him there is no need to be so anxious. Leaning close to his ear, Shiramori whispers that, at this moment, he is the only one for her. The warmth of her breath startles him, and the sudden closeness sends a deeper, sharper sensation through him than a simple tickle. She tells him not to forget what she just said. Before he can respond, she pulls away and explains that she needs to return to her classroom, adding that they will meet again after school. He watches her go, surprised by how quickly she leaves. After she is gone, he quietly admits to himself how delighted he feels. The happiness rising inside him makes him hope she feels the same way. Her whispered words replay in his mind, spreading warmth through him again. But the phrase she used begins to trouble him, and he wonders why she said, "at this moment." A familiar uneasiness settles over him, as he worries she might still favor attractive boys and that her reassurance may not be enough. He assumes she might simply be teasing him, yet he desperately wants to trust that her earlier words were sincere. Suddenly he remembers that they were supposed to change classrooms and realizes he has completely forgotten panic sets in just as the bell rings. Meanwhile, Tokiya, now in the staff room, is being scolded, but he's happy for his friend. Later that day, Kuroya walks toward the club room, his mind still tangled with the thoughts that have been bothering him. He keeps remembering how Shiramori-senpai teased him earlier, and the memory lingers even though only 3 days have passed since they began dating. He already finds himself uncertain about the boundaries of their trial relationship. He wonders what counts as acceptable and what does not, wanting some clarity on where the line should be drawn. As he continues down the hall, Shiramori suddenly appears slightly breathless, as she apologizes for making him wait because she was changing for PE. The moment he sees her, he stiffens, his thoughts scattering in every direction. She immediately picks up on the subtle shift in his expression and asks what is wrong, sensing uncommon thoughts. He denies it, insisting he is fine, but she comments that he seemed cheerful only a little while earlier. Noticing his troubled demeanor, she gently offers to listen if something is on his mind. After a moment of hesitation, Kuroya admits that he has been thinking about the limits of their trial relationship and is unsure about what is appropriate between them. Shiramori responds by saying they do not need to define everything so strictly, insisting that rigid boundaries would only make things dull. The uncertainty, the hesitation, and the small worries about going too far. She tells him these are all part of the excitement of love. Gradually, he starts to understand her point, recognizing that the tension itself contributes to the thrill he feels around her. She talks about a pre-dating period, a time to explore feelings and see if two people are compatible before starting a serious relationship. Kuroya says it's like the stage couples in Western countries go through before committing. She agrees, saying it helps people see if the relationship can grow. Then Shiramori talks about dating customs in other countries, saying people often use small, nonverbal signals instead of directly confessing. To show an example, she moves her foot under the table, explaining that such movements can be a way to communicate. Kuroya reacts with surprise and discomfort, asking her to stop, but she reassures him casually that it is harmless. Still, her actions make the atmosphere even more intense for him. She then asks whether he understands the signals she is trying to convey. He struggles to respond, uncertain of how he should act. Without warning, she nudges him lightly with her foot, causing him to lean back. Inside, he apologizes to himself, aware once again that he is not confident enough to act like a proper boyfriend yet. And during this trial phase, the thought of her behaving this way with someone else stirs an uneasy feeling in his chest. He watches her carefully, worried he might have come across as overly possessive. Panic creeps up on him, as he wonders whether she might be put off by his reaction. But Shiramori quickly notices his anxiety and reassures him with a soft laugh, explaining that she has only been teasing him. Even with her reassurance, he remains flustered as she urges him not to make too much of it. Shiramori suggests one clear rule: they won't see anyone else and will follow Japanese-style dating. Kuroya feels relieved, realizing she's fully his for now. She makes her commitment clear: neither should pay attention to others. Kuroya agrees, thinking he could never betray her, though he knows someone very attractive might appear someday. He feels lucky to be dating someone like her. She smiles and teases him once more, reinforcing the idea that dating her is something remarkable. Despite the lingering embarrassment and confusion, Kuroya admits inwardly that he could never hope to outmatch her in moments like these. Still, he looks forward to continuing their relationship. And within this vague, loosely defined trial dating period, they solidify one undeniable rule: no cheating. One day, while they are sitting in their clubroom, Shiramori brings up the thought that Kuroya has liked her for the past year. Confusion fills him as he tries to figure out where she is going with the topic. She brushes off his reaction and reflects that she never imagined, a year earlier, that the two of them would end up together. Her thoughts then turn to him, wondering if he ever expected that they might become a couple. He pauses, considering her question, and admits that he never imagined having a girlfriend at all. Shiramori studies his expression, accepting his answer before asking what part of her he likes the most. Irritation rises in him and he refuses to respond, convinced that any answer would only invite teasing. To redirect the conversation, he asks about her feelings toward him instead. Without hesitation, she explains that she admires the depth of his love for her. The repetition leaves him flustered, overwhelmed by how naturally she expresses herself. He struggles to understand how she can say such embarrassing things so plainly, while she silently wonders whether he dislikes hearing them. She asks if her honesty makes him uncomfortable. He hesitates, unsure how to explain that he does not dislike it, but simply is not accustomed to such straightforwardness, especially when she is so close. Observing him carefully, she points out that if things continue in this manner, they will remain in a starting stage indefinitely. She asks if he is willing to let it stay that way. Uncertainty washes over him as he admits that he is not fine with it, though he feels powerless due to his lack of experience. She suggests that they try something to help him grow more comfortable around her. After settling on an idea, she proposes a plan for the two of them. The word practice makes him uneasy, unsure what she intends. She reveals that the practice involves going out together on a date. The idea startles him, but they begin walking together nonetheless. During this walk, Kuroya mentions that it does not feel like a real date, that they are simply heading home together. She considers it a proper after-school outing and wonders if he is not pleased to be spending time with her. He reacts awkwardly, and she encourages him to be honest. People around them take notice, commenting on her appearance and how striking she looks. He becomes aware of the attention she attracts and feels the weight of walking beside her even as a trial. Once again, he is reminded of how much she stands out in public. During the walk, she brings up that they have already held hands once and suggests that it might be time to do so again. His flustered reaction surprises him while she continues, noting that holding hands is ordinary. He reflects that, although ordinary for others, it is meaningful for him. She finds his reaction excessive and points out that they are in a relationship, adding that she is comfortable with closer physical contact. His thoughts race as she continues, teasing him lightly about imagining something improper. She moves her hand toward him, signaling that she wants to hold hands, and waits for his response. His mind spins, wondering if he should take the initiative now that they are moving to a different stage. He tries to think of something smooth to say, something appropriate for the moment. Noticing how pale and delicate her hands appear, he feels a strong desire to hold them, yet still hesitates. Finally, he agrees, though his tone suggests he is giving in because she insists. She looks at him, and regret immediately hits him for phrasing it awkwardly. He calls himself foolish and worries she will dislike how he spoke. She listens calmly, offering no reaction. They begin walking, hands joined. She remarks on the gesture, and he quietly asks why she feels the need to point it out. She explains that she wanted their first outing to include this moment and approached it straightforwardly on purpose. She then wonders how he felt about it and whether he can accept losing to her boldness. His heart races and he feels the situation is unfair. Inwardly, he acknowledges the intensity of his feelings for her, unsure how to handle them. He hopes he can move forward as her partner and wishes moments like this could last. Along the way, she suggests stopping, leading them to a bookstore. They pause and browse inside. While looking through the shelves, she picks up a book and mentions hearing that it will soon receive an animated version. He finds peace in the quiet, comfortable atmosphere, realizing that these small, gentle moments might be what a relationship is about. He tells her he has already read the book and can lend it to her. She accepts with a bright smile. He watches her happiness and quietly thinks that he wants to keep seeing that expression. As they continue browsing, she points out a sign announcing a fair for a series aimed at teenagers. She considers that such books might be useful in their clubroom and wonders aloud whether they should choose one to buy. When he notices her expression shift, what is wrong? She apologizes, realizing she had overlooked something, and suggests moving to another section. He reassures her that it is fine, While browsing further, he comes across a particular book and his expression shifts. Senpai did not expect to find it there and suggests going to a different section. He gives a brief response, but he did not expect to find it there, as it represents one of the most difficult experiences of his life. During lunch, Anne notices that Kasumi is unusually cheerful. She approaches her friend, observing how radiant and happy she seems, though Kasumi chooses to keep the reason to herself, wanting to savor the feeling privately. Anne playfully hugs her from behind, curious to understand the source of her joy, but Kasumi gently reminds her that her relationship with Kuroya-kun is still a secret from her friends. She maintains her composure, keeping the happiness to herself while enjoying the moment, aware that this private feeling is something she wants to treasure for now. Tsukuchi Kuroya authored a single book during his middle school years titled, "You're the Ray of White Light in My Darksome World." He published it as a genuine professional writer, not through self-publishing. He never expected to see the book again. The work carries the weight of haunting echoes from his past. 3 years earlier, as a middle school student, Tsukichi finishes writing and prepares to share his story. He feels satisfied with his efforts, believing he has done well even by his own standards, and hopes to one day become a professional. As someone who loves books, he enjoys creating stories and posting them online. One of his submissions eventually reaches the top of the rankings, attracting numerous responses. Among the messages he receives is one from the editorial department of a publishing house, proposing to publish his work. The letter from the Up Novels editorial department offers the opportunity for professional publication, marking the first contact between Tsukuchi and the editors. Things move quickly from that point. The editor frequently praises Tsukichi's work, filling him with happiness and motivation. He is assigned a dedicated editor, and they hold a series of meetings. Discussions about the book's publication accelerate, and soon his debut work is released with high expectations. Recognition from professionals leaves him elated. However, he later receives a call informing him that the book will be discontinued after just one volume due to poor sales. He accepts the news calmly, resolving to put in more effort for the next project. He understands from the start that success would not come easily and decides to begin again from scratch. The publisher adds that if his next work gains popularity online, they will reach out to him again. Tsukichi is left puzzled, reflecting on why the same work that was praised so highly did not succeed. No matter how many new ideas Tsukichi sends to the editor afterward, the only response he receives is to wait until the work gains popularity online. Seeking guidance, he consults a writer he meets at the publisher's appreciation event. The writer warns him that the editor he is dealing with has a reputation for not actually performing editing work, often offering empty praise without substance. Tsukichi realizes that much of the commendation he had believed was insincere. This realization breaks something inside him, and he loses faith, which worries his readers. The updates to the novel, which he had been diligently maintaining, suddenly stop. Messages of concern from his audience arrive, asking after his well-being and expressing their anticipation for the story's continuation. Despite their support, he cannot regain trust in people and struggles with the weight of disappointment. From that day on, Tsukichi stops writing novels. About 6 months into high school, at a time when he has completely put the incident behind him, he sits in the club room, recalling the past. Suddenly, Shiramori enters and notices his reaction, holding a book in her hands. She points out that it is indeed a book written by Tsukichi. Seeing her with the book, he feels a surge of unease. She is the last person he expected to see it, and a strange heaviness spreads through his body. Startled, he loses his balance and falls from his chair. Shiramori immediately moves to support him, her concern evident. Tsukichi realizes that the part of his past he never wanted to be exposed has come to light. Overwhelmed by embarrassment and shock, he loses consciousness. When he wakes, Shiramori is beside him, helping him sit up. She asks if he is all right, explaining that he collapsed so suddenly that she became worried. He reassures her and apologizes for causing concern. After seeing the book, she gently takes his hand and encourages him to share what he is comfortable with. She promises not to tell anyone. Tsukichi tells her everything. As she hears his story, she responds with sympathy. He insists that the situation is his own fault, convinced that he became overconfident. He feels that all the effort he put in was wasted and that he should never have aimed to become a novelist. To him, the book holds no worth because it did not sell and feels like nothing more than self-indulgence. Hearing this, Shiramori places her hand over his mouth to stop him from continuing. She cannot accept the way he speaks about himself or his work, especially the book she holds dear. Tsukichi looks at her and asks if she likes the book. She confirms that she does, and he is struck by her sincerity. She emphasizes that she is not offering empty praise, insisting that she genuinely enjoys the story he wrote. She acknowledges that there are some clumsy parts, but they do not diminish her appreciation. Regardless of what others might think, she genuinely likes his work. Tsukichi feels a deep sense of validation, realizing that her words are sincere and come from the heart. She admits that, as a reader, she cannot fully understand everything about him, but she wants to convey her enjoyment of his writing. She expresses her continued support and encourages him to take care of himself and continue his efforts. Tears well in Tsukichi's eyes as he reflects on words he has heard many times before, words he could never believe after that day. Yet now, for some reason, they bring him a sense of relief and comfort. From this moment, color begins to return to the dark world he had carried for so long. A voice calls from behind and he turns with a calm smile, assuring her that he is fine. He thinks about how much he may have burdened her with this story, but now he can face it with a clear mind. The memory of how merely seeing the cover of the book once made him feel sick to his stomach now feels almost unreal, as if it never truly happened. At present, she moves closer to her, holding her arm gently as she meets his gaze. She reminds him that they are on a date and asks how long he plans to drift off in thought. She wants to see his smile, urging him not to stare into space. He hesitates, unsure how to respond so suddenly, but she lightly touches his shoulder with a soft, reassuring gesture. She tells him there is no need to feel embarrassed. Although he worries about the people around them, she focuses only on him. He realizes that this is her way of expressing concern. More than anything, he wants to keep her from worrying any further. With that resolve, he suggests they continue their date. She reacts with pleasant surprise. He feels certain that even if his world darkens again, Shiramori will continue to guide him. This becomes clear to him through the time they share that day. She then leads him toward their next destination, continuing the flow of their date. While accompanying Shiramori-senpai to the bookstore, he spotted the book bearing his own name, and the sight unsettled him. For a brief moment, he imagined how things might unfold from here, yet the coincidence also gave him a quiet chance to reflect on his feelings for her. If their relationship continues as it has, he hopes it will eventually move beyond the uncertain stage of their trial arrangement. He feels that they have grown closer lately, until one night, while checking his phone, he realizes that her messages have stopped. A wave of doubt rises in him. He cannot think of anything he might have done wrong, yet her sudden silence leaves him uneasy. Wanting to clear up whatever may have happened, he sends her a sincere message apologizing, hoping to make sure nothing is amiss. A short while later, his phone rings. When he answers, Shiramori-senpai immediately asks why he sent such a formal apology and whether something happened. He quickly explains that he is not upset, but she points out that she noticed he had not contacted her at all that day. Normally, he would reach out at least once, and his lack of communication made her worry that he might have been angry without realizing it. It becomes clear to him that her concern stems from his silence throughout the day. Caught off guard by her tone, he struggles to find the right words. She continues questioning the reason for his message, while he insists that nothing serious occurred and that she really did not need to worry. Despite his nervousness, she reassures him that she is not upset, laughing softly as she admits how startled she was when she saw his apology. His anxiety gradually fades, and he begins to realize that her concern comes from genuine care rather than anger. Listening to her explanation, he reflects on how she had worried about him, and starts to feel that perhaps his reaction had been unnecessary. He wonders whether he has read too much into the situation. Just then, he hears an unexpected sound on the other end of the call, and she asks if he knows what she is doing at that moment. The unfamiliar noise leaves him confused, and he tries to guess what it could be. It seems unusual to him, and her question only deepens his curiosity. She casually mentions that she is occupied with something, her words catching him off guard. Speaking lightly, she adds that she is not wearing anything specific for whatever she is doing, which instantly startles him. He reassures himself that it should not matter since he cannot see anything through the phone, but her slightly teasing tone suggests that she expected a stronger reaction. She then tells him to look at his phone screen. When he does, he sees an image and becomes immediately startled, unsure of what she is trying to do. She soon reveals that it is simply her elbow, finding amusement in his panicked reaction. Internally, he pleads for her to stop teasing him, overwhelmed by the way she continues to play with his nerves. He realizes she is being difficult again. She warns him not to blame her if he ends up dropping his phone because of her antics, adding that it would cause trouble if he reacted too strongly. Her tone remains teasing, and he struggles to maintain his composure. Acknowledging that she is right, he considers ending the call to prevent further trouble. Just as he prepares to do so, she suddenly asks if he wants to see her, implying something bold. The suggestion jolts him, and he finds himself unable to comprehend why she would ask something like that. She explains that she can adjust her camera if he is honest about his feelings and that she would not refuse. He becomes conflicted again, wondering if she feels embarrassed about doing something like that. He reminds himself that they should not engage in anything inappropriate at this point. In response, she emphasizes their relationship and mentions that she might consider it because they are dating, adding that it would not be strange. His thoughts spiral as he imagines what she might be hinting at. Part of him feels tempted, but he quickly questions whether the situation is right. He wonders if she truly means what she is implying, worried that responding now might be inappropriate. The moment feels too personal, even though they are in a relationship. He swallows nervously, reminding himself that they are indeed dating, and the thought only adds to his confusion as he tries to determine the proper response. After a pause, she begins to laugh and admits that she has only been teasing him, saying she never intended to show him anything and was simply joking. She points out that he stayed quiet for a long time, making her curious about what was going through his mind. Flustered, he tries his best to ignore her teasing. She adds that he took too long to reply and reminds him that he should respond quickly, insisting that a slow reaction would cause him to miss the chance to see anything personal. She prepares to end the call, mentioning that she is finishing her bath. As she steps out, her foot slips and he hears a sudden gasp. Her phone falls, and for a brief moment, he unintentionally sees more than he should be due to how the device lands. Both of them freeze in shock at the unexpected situation. She immediately insists that it was not intentional and happened purely by accident. In a panic, she repeats herself, desperately trying to explain the sudden exposure. He attempts to end the call, but the wet screen makes it difficult to tap the button. She continues insisting it was unplanned, doing everything she can to brush it off as an accident. Before either of them can fully recover, the call abruptly disconnects. Once the call ends, he sits alone, overwhelmed by the events. His chest tightens as he tries to gather himself, wishing for even a moment of calm. He worries about how he will face her the next day and wonders if she is all right after the sudden accident. Wanting to check on her, he sends a message thanking her for her concern and reassuring her that she does not need to worry about what happened, promising that he will not mention it to anyone. She replies, asking if he truly saw her earlier, making it clear that she knows exactly what happened when the phone slipped. He tries to deny it in his thoughts, but she continues, saying that it feels unfair that only he ended up seeing something, leaving her unsettled. Her wording confuses him, and he struggles to understand what she means by calling it unfair. She ends her message by saying that she plans to return the feeling the next day and instructs him to be prepared. Tension rises within him as he tries to imagine what she intends to do. The thought leaves him uneasy, wondering how she plans to confront him after everything that happened.